concert up in this.
I know it is like a concert. Yo, good morning and welcome to another episode of the RoadFS CRM podcast, of course, with Detail Booking Now. And dude, it is another crazy week. It seems like January 3rd hit and Rod and I have been nonstop, just full steam ahead. And dude, I need a vacation.
I need something. But so somebody else that's super busy is Mark from Certified Professional Detailers. Hi, Mark. How are you doing today?
Good. How are you guys?
Good, man. Dude, I'm super excited to have you on board. So, I stumbled across you on Facebook. Like I tend to I don't know how to shut down sometimes. And so sometimes, and my wife works late for Alaska. So sometimes I'm just going around looking at what detail business owners are doing, trying to see what's happening in the industry. And I came across a great article that you posted on Detailer's Business Journey. And so that's what caught my attention. But before we go there, why don't you give us a little intro about you, how you got started in the industry, and let's start there.
Okay, I'll try to keep it under 2.5 hours here.
Excellent.
So I own Visual Pro Detailing. I'm located out of Southern Illinois. Started my business in 2010, shortly after my son was born. And
Congrats.
I was working a retail job. And it was going nowhere. It was going nowhere. I had always wanted to be self-employed. I always wanted to start my own business. So I started a detailing business. And like most detailers, the first couple of years were awful. It was incredibly difficult. And one of the biggest frustrations I found is that there was nowadays there's a lot of resources. Back then, there were no resources to help you business-wise, get more sales, make more money. So I had this, and I've told people this before. It wasn't she was like on top of me, but I had this talk with my wife, and we basically said, 1 year. Give me 1 year to try to figure out how to actually make money with this, or I'm out of here. I'll go do something else. I started learning about marketing, sales, advertising, customer service, optimizing your offer, and things started moving. I had to go outside of the detailing industry to find coaching and mentorship and someone that would actually help me, because everyone in the industry is like, you're a flea, you're nobody, whatever. I mean, the only one I can really say is Mike Phillips from Auto Geek was super, super kind. And through the forum back in the day, he actually was very helpful with some messages and some advice and stuff like that. But obviously he couldn't take me on as a student, as an understudy of his. But so as I developed in my industry, my detailing business just went crazy. I mean, I'm booked at right now over 120 days out, almost all high-end ceramic coatings. I'm averaging $20,000 a plus a month by myself, one-man show. And one of my passions has been helping and mentoring other detailers, sales, marketing, growth. A lot of people, and they're really great, can teach you how to run a polisher. But I really think our industry needs to teach people more of how to sell and how to market and how to advertise themselves.
And that's one of the, excuse me, one of the things that I find interesting about the industry is there are even people that will claim, well, it's not an industry. Detailing is not an industry. And I look at them and I go, guys, it is definitely an industry. And the more we make it a professional industry and get recognized as a skilled trade, the easier it will be for everyone to take their business to whatever level they want to take it to. One of the things I really liked about some of your articles, Mark, is when you had an article about not following the bloated trend of you have to be this $1 million business. You got to make that, and that is not the reality. And it's also not mentally helpful for somebody that's a single man or single woman shop to set this expectation that if you're not making $1 million, you're not crap. That's so ridiculous, because every market is different. Every single location within a market is different. And I could be doing work out of my home garage and I've got a shop at my house, I could be doing work out of that shop and I would be perfectly fine doing less than you're doing, right? And I'd be fine with that. But everybody has this stigma about grow, 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 grow. And I don't like that. I like just stay in your lane. And where do you want to be?
Yeah, and I think it's kind of bizarre how it's evolved over the years. Because when I first started, it was if you don't do a 2-3 step paint correction on every car, you're not a real detailer.
Right,
Mm.
If
right.
the car isn't perfect when it goes out your shop, you're not a real detailer. And then it got about 8-10 years ago, if you don't use my ceramic coating, you're not a real detailer. And
Right.
then and now it's evolved into this thing. I guess ever since COVID is that if you're a solopreneur or you're a one person shop, no matter how profitable you are, no matter how happy you are, no matter how much you enjoy your life in being a lone operator or self-employed, you're not a real business owner. You don't know anything about business. You're not a real business owner like I am because I have employees. And there listen, I get what people are saying about scaling. There's nothing wrong with scaling. Scaling can be a very, very good thing. It'd be very profitable, but it can also be fraught with risk and frustration and danger. I mean, I know a guy, and again, a few years back, and his shop was doing $700,000 a year in sales. He closed it down because he went bankrupt because he had so much
Right.
debt on it. So, and I'm not saying that's going to happen to everyone that scales, but it's one of those things where we don't have to look down on people because they've made a decision one way or another. You're not broken because you enjoy being self-employed. And I don't know where and when the term self-employed became a bad thing. They're like, oh, you own a job. I own a freaking awesome job that's fun and enjoyable, and I can take time off anytime I want to and enjoy my life.
Yeah, and I think that is. I've said this. I don't know how many times on this podcast, but if you research it and you look, most of the businesses that shut down because they grew too fast, not because they
Yeah.
didn't scale. If you're sitting there and you're comfortable and you're going and you're at that point where you go, gosh, should we grow? You obviously have enough cash coming in that you're even considering growing. And if
Yeah.
you're sitting there doing that, you got to ask yourself why. Because if I'm making 35% margin today with one employee or myself, and I scale and I add 5 employees and I'm making a 20% margin, when were you doing better? You were doing better by yourself. So I think people need to look at that because the outlay that you have to do in order to grow exponentially it's different. I don't think people look at that. We've known so many people that have had really, really successful shops. And it's been my saying since the mid 80s that really, really cool stuff comes out of 30 by 30 shops before it's a single person. Just awesome, awesome cars. So I love that. I also, one of the things I really liked about what you said was the years ago, how it had to be perfect, right?
Yeah.
There is no perfection. There's no perfection. You can take a car right off of the showroom floor and pick out how many flaws can you pick out of that car. And you're
Oh,
going to
funny.
continue to do that. So you're just kind of stopping it in time. You're trying to preserve it and you're trying to make it better than it was when it came in.
Well, I think that it's evolved into, and I think this is where detailers, and I know that we're on like 18 social media platforms right now. This is where detailers have to step back from other detailers, and this has to be a very personal decision. So, for instance, just a little insight into why I have not scaled my business, even though I did have an employee for almost 3 years here. Um, and he did window tinting and stuff like that. He decided to move on. I was okay with that. I was happy to go back. It was actually kind of fun to go back to being the one man band. So first of all, I have a son who is highly functioning, but he's autistic, and
Mhm.
I wanted to contribute a lot of time to him. And also, I live in a city of literally 6,700 people, and I am an hour and a half away from the nearest what you would consider population center. So, in order for me to scale where I'm at, I would have to get away from the higher end, I know that I've got a minivan back here, but it's over a $2,000 job for ceramic coating. And then I've got a older Toyota RAV4 where the guy's like, he's like wild about these. And he's like, I'll pay you really good money to transform this thing. So I can do fun, well-paying passion projects. Whereas if I were to scale and bring in a bunch of employees, where I'm at, because I think that decision to scale is very demographically centered. When you make that decision, I would have to get into very much wholesale volume work to make a scaled operation work where I live. And I think that's something that people need to really consider. If you're going to point that finger, you're not scaling, you should be scaling. Well, is it even really feasible where you're at with the resources you have?
Right. And the other thing I think people don't realize is that being a good detailer does not mean you're a good business owner. There's
Yes,
that's two separate entities there. I've known people that were fantastic business owners that they're self-proclaimed, I'm a horrible detailer, but I'm really good at business. And so that's when they would scale and they would bring somebody in that's a better detailer or a window tint or something like that. I've used these guys as an example before, but the two brothers in Arizona, they outsource wraps and window tinting because A, they don't think they're as great at it as they are at detailing, and B, they're like, I don't have time for that. So I'd rather partner with somebody and pay them a percentage and still take the work because I want to be a one-stop shop. And so there's value in doing that and not taking all of the profit on something that you might not necessarily want to spend your time doing.
I think that you can also, I don't want to branch into a rabbit hole here, but you can get overly diversified where you lose your core focus on what you do really, really, really well. Like, for instance, for me, if someone even utters the word ceramic coating in Southern Illinois, they say, you got to go to Markup in Benton. And I have built that over years of focused marketing and effort and reputation and customer service. Not just because I've always considered myself a slightly above average detailer, but I treat people fantastic and I take care of them and I answer the phone and I follow up. And that's what's really built my business, is the marketing and the customer service and stuff like that. But when you branch into too many, I would love to talk about offers, because that's the big thing we're teaching in the certified professional detailers groups right now. But when you get into too many offers, you get so diversified. Customers even tend to look at that and be like, what do they really do here?
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. I see people do that where they have, with the software, we look at all people's packages and we see just hundreds and hundreds of people's different pricing structures and the guys and gals that are really successful offer fewer things and they hone in on it. Years and years ago, I watched a guy go on the Shark Tank, and I love Shark Tank because I watch these super ultra rich people take advantage of these people that have a great idea all the time, and I'm rooting for the guys with the ideas. I'm rooting for the guys that want to stay, that just go, you know what, I can do this on my own. Screw you, and they walk off. This guy was a pie maker. Okay.
Oh, I saw that episode.
And he made really, really good pies, and he wanted to branch out. He needed like $250,000. He wanted to open a new store. He was selling tons and tons of these pies, and he handmade all of them. And he had like 15 pies. And the smartest thing that the guys asked him, they said, what's your best-selling pies? And he's like, oh, these 3. I sell more of these than anything. And they said, then why do you have the other ones?
Yeah.
If you don't sell the rhubarb pie that often, get rid of it and focus on the ones that sell really good and market those, right? And I think that is the epitome of the detailing industry. You do have to branch out sometimes. Years and years ago, when you first started your business, or back in 2008, 2009, people would specialize. You would be a bumper touch-up person, or you would be a wheel repair person, but you wouldn't do both. And now people branch out, and that's okay to branch out. But once you start getting too many things, and I see these people put together packages and they're like, okay, I have 32 packages. And you're like, whoa, how does anybody weed through all that and figure out what they want? I
just want my car
clean. Good, better, best, right? Good, better, best. And we actually had a really guy out of Yarmouth, Maine. He had 4 levels. And the reason he had 4 is because he realized, he goes, most people won't choose the highest level. They'll choose the second one down, right? If he had good, better, best, they always choose better. And he goes, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to have a 4th. I'm going to have good, better, best, the greatest thing in the world. And most people are going to choose the best, which is still a high-end detail package. So part of that, I'd love to hear what you guys are doing as far as mentoring people or telling people how they should market themselves.
So one of the things that I did, and I have been studying this from a non-detailing industry perspective for about a year and a half. And then right before the end of the year, I started really studying the detailing industry. And then I took all this head knowledge and then I applied it to my own business and as kind of the test run for this. And what I found is that the detailing industry is several years behind the online coaching industry, the online product industry, the digital service industry. We are years behind it. And people in the year 2025, they want simplicity, they want clarity, and they want to understand what the heck they are buying whenever they go to someone's website. And what I actually created, there's a whole series of courses on the Certified Professional Detailer site all about how to create clarity. And I actually created a 10-point checklist to show whether you have clarity in your primary offer or not. And so far, every detailer that I've been through, the answer has been no to either 8 out of 10 or 9 out of 10 questions on that list about clarifying your offer. And listen, and it's nothing, it's not a dig. They're not doing anything wrong. They're simply following a process that they've seen other detailers for years or decades do. And they're saying, well, I'm just going to do what everyone else is doing. Whereas whenever I implemented this in my own business, my views in my website, just straight up data analytics. My views on my website went up. My time on page went up. The amount of low quality leads went down. The amount of ultra qualified, ready to buy, like they call me up. I don't even call it a sales call anymore. I call it a booking call, because by the time they get through this offer, they're basically just calling me up and saying, when can I get on the schedule? And I have never in the life of my business been booked out over 120 days. And I am currently booked out right at 100 and little under 130 days to get in for a ceramic coating. And that is packed to the gills. Like
That's
I couldn't
crazy.
And that is that. And let's emphasize that's in a very, very small town comparatively. Right. And that's what I think is, that's what I think is unique about it, is that I think that's what it comes down to. And we've got some tools in the back of our software where you can actually send out text and email notifications and reminders and all kinds of things like that. But you can use it as a marketing tool as well. And we had a guy that was in Indiana, but he called Jody in February a couple of years ago and said, I'm completely dead. I got nothing. What can you guys do? And we said, well, send out an email to your current customers. That's the easiest way to get money, is customers you've already had. So he sent out one email blast. And the next day he called Jody and he goes, I just booked $3,000 worth of work. He called Jody the next day and he said, I just booked the entire month. And it's like, see, you've got to reach out. You have to ask for the work.
That customer engagement is so important.
Yeah.
I mean, it really is. And I like something that you said very early in the conversation. It's like, you got to look at yourself and you got to know where you want to go as a business owner. Because I really relate to that. You know, you have an autistic son, because when Rod and I, when we first started our business, literally the year we started was the year of the Haiti earthquake. And we brought 2 of our kids home because of everything was expedited. And boy, there was this mad rush that first year. And I could not have done what was needed for our family if I didn't have the flexibility of owning our own business, right? And having a partner that I could rely on and trust, right? And I think sometimes we get so caught up in the expected vision of what a detail shop should be that we miss our vision. What do we want our business to be? What do we want our clientele to be? And I'd like to know, I mean, and I think everybody else would, how did you get to the point where you're booked out for 130 plus days? I mean, that's significant, right? That tells me a lot about your reputation, people willing to wait for a service. I mean, how did you build that?
So first of all, I'm pretty good detailer, so they're getting great results. I'm very transparent with what they're getting, what they're not getting. I have a very, I mean, you go to my website, visualprodetailing.com, and this is one of the things that I really am preaching really hard to detailers, and they're making a lot of money, but we can talk about that later on, what other people are doing with the same process that I've done. They can find my offer within 5 seconds of getting on my website. Within 5 seconds of getting on my website, you see my primary offer on there. I do a ton of retargeting. So I do low cost retargeting ads on social media to stay in touch with and reconnect with my current followers, customers, website visitors. So the people that go on the website and they say, I'm going to think about this. Guess what? It starts showing up in their Facebook feed all the time. And it's just building that trust. It's building that coordination. I have a huge referral network. Over 80% of my customers come back for a second coating, even years down the road. And it's fantastic because I offer a low cost maintenance package to keep them engaged, keep them happy with it, refresh it, keep it going. And I'm small but really loud. And that's something that I do another live stream on a training page of mine on Thursday mornings, and I talked about this, is that even if you're not a big business, you don't have to be small. You don't have to act small. You don't have to have a small marketing message. You don't have to have a small personality, and you can be super kind to people, and you can be loud and get in front of people and be bold about who you are and what you say, and you're going to make a ton of money off of it.
Yep. And I think that's really, I mean, that's one of the reasons that kind of when Jody was saying he found, and he's like, I found this guy, Mark, and he's like, oh, you've already liked his stuff, because we kind of gravitate towards that. And that's how Jody and I have always been. You know, it's like when we first started this, people are like, why would two guys that have a software company be doing a podcast on detailing, you know? And I think it's because we kind of buck all of those norms, right? We don't assume anything, and just go and do what you want to do. Where do you want to be, right? The Will Smith movie where he walks up to the guy and he says, man, what do you do and how do I do that? Find out where you want to be. And then the other thing that Jody and I have learned over these years is enjoy the journey getting there, because tomorrow you're going to be somewhere where you wished you were yesterday. And when you get there, you've got to take time to enjoy the fact of where you are at, right? And so similar to you, I have three kids, and two of them are autistic. One of them is super highly functioning. The other one, not so much. So having kids that are autistic, I think, and like Jody with his two adopted kids, it gives you a different perspective on life and how you have to act towards people, because people are different all over, and what works for you in Indiana might not work for somebody in Alaska. We had a friend of ours that he really he got it too far into that. I need to be successful. I need to make $1 million a year. And he was making a great living in Alaska doing interiors, because in Alaska, there's not a lot of ceramic coating that, you know, I mean, you could do that in the summer, but not very much. So he got kind of bogged down by that I'm not successful enough thing. And it was really too bad.
I mean, we go back to this, but what is your definition of success? To me, making a really good income for living. I mean, I'm an hour and a half from St. Louis. I'm 45 minutes or about it. No, actually, since I moved to Benton, I'm a little over an hour from Paducah, Kentucky. There's no big population center right in my back door. So where I live, the income that I make from my business makes me a little above middle class. I'm in a very low cost of living area of the country. So it goes back to that. What is your vision of success? I mean, as long as my family has a great life, I can provide for myself. We can go on some vacations. I can fill up my IRA accounts every year, so I actually have a future and a retirement one day. That's my vision of success. And also, I'll add this. One of the other reasons why I've never scaled is that one of my passions is helping other detailers succeed and to get off of this broken record of what I call the detailing roller coaster, where it's up, it's down, it's up, it's down, it's up, it's down, and it's either feast or famine. And that's just one of my deals. It's something that I have always enjoyed, is helping other detailers. That's why I do the blog posts. That's why I do the videos. That's why we created Certified Professional Detailers. And when one of our members, or even if someone's not a member of what we do, and they send me an email and say, hey, I'm struggling, I've got some problems, I sit down and type them back everything I can, because I am determined to be the resource that I needed
Yeah.
years ago, but didn't exist.
Yeah. And
That's awesome.
I think that is really a good goal to have, is to help other people, because you're not always that person that wants to have 50 employees. That's one of the biggest things we see is detailers that do scale. They're always worried that their employee is going to go out and do better than them. And I'm like, why are you worried about that? For two reasons. One, if you're a good company, people aren't going to just run out the door and try to do better than you. And two, if you're not a good enough company and they do better than you, you're doing something wrong.
Right.
So
It's a red flag.
Yeah, it kind of is. And I think that people don't, that I'm we see posts all the time of, oh my gosh, the economy this, the economy that. Detailing is an interesting industry, because when the economy is doing really great, people are buying new cars and they want to protect them. When the economy is doing really bad, people want to hold on to their old car and they want to protect it. So that cycle, you can work within that depending on where the world is or your area is. And I think that that's interesting, because everybody learned that in 2020. Everybody went from the auto spa to the sanitization kingdom of the world, man. We're cleaning cars. It's not a spa anymore. And I think people need to kind of navigate those waters with in a way that they can stay where they want to be, but they can ride that roller coaster out. They don't have to take those ups and downs. Smooth that out so that it's more of a steady flow.
Well, and I think that I said this, I was messaging a guy, and he kind of went through the framework about simplifying, and he ended up booking 15 jobs, about half of them coatings, in like a week, just by doing this framework of simplifying everything. And he messaged me like a week. He's like, this is great, but the leads are starting to slow down. And I said, well, change your angle. And he's like, well, what do you mean? Well, at first you were talking about just the base offer package you have. Now talk about a different pain point. Talk about how easy it is to remove bugs from it. And then the next time, talk about how you don't have to wax it anymore. And then the next time, talk about preserving the value of the vehicle by maintaining its aesthetic appearance. And I just said, if your ads, if your leads, if that's starting to slow down, switch your angle a little bit, and you're going to find different people with different price points and different pain points. And once you nail into someone's pain point, someone that was looking at that, you're saying, oh, it's glossy and reflective, but you say, oh, it's tremendously easier to clean. That's their pain point. And they're like, that's what I need. I need something that's easier to clean and easier to get the bugs off, et cetera. And just making that shift in pain points in marketing, it's so valuable. It's so powerful and very overlooked.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can really appreciate that, because I think a lot of times we lose sight of our real job is just to solve a problem.
Yeah.
When you get down to it, you have a customer that has a problem. Sometimes they don't even know how to articulate it until you
Yeah.
start asking the questions and being curious about what brought them into your shop or what they brought them to your software. I'm always like, when people come on board with RoadFS, but now also with Detail Bookie, I'm like, tell me about your business. Where is it struggling? What are you trying to capture or recapture? Because a lot of times they're just trying to recapture a weekend or their nights or something. And it's like, if I can understand that pain point and I can tweak the knobs a little bit to streamline your business, all of a sudden I've helped you in a very direct way that sometimes I don't think we know how to articulate. And I love the way that you said that. It's like, well, have you thought about bugs, or have you thought about ease of clean? It's the same product, but you're solving a different problem.
Yeah.
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 And it's
And that,
multifaceted what we do. I mean,
yeah.
even if you do a lot of detailing, some people are really focused on the interior. Other people want the paint correction on the outside. Some people want sanitization. They want you to do an ozone treatment or something like that. There's all these different angles. And if I could stretch back to the offer real quick, one of the things that I found, almost every single detailer that I have, when I was researching this, and I was just searching like random, like detailers in Boise, Idaho, detailers in San Francisco, California, and I would, get off the first one that came up organically and scroll down a little bit and go to the websites and stuff like that. Almost all detailers write their copy or their message as if it were to another detailer.
Right.
We're talking about decontamination. We're talking about paint correction. We're talking about hardness of the ceramic coating. And the customers are looking at that going, I don't understand what any of this means. And
Right.
instead of telling them, hey, this is what you are going to experience, we're trying to sell it to other detailers. It's almost like we write our websites, we write our brochures, we write our Facebook posts, we write our social media to sell to other detailers. And that's why we're throwing like $100 bills into the fire on advertising and marketing and all this other stuff. And people aren't converting because the customers are simply looking at it and going, I have no idea what on earth this person is talking about, so I can't buy it.
Yeah, and they don't also know how to buy it or what they need. When you offer them 27 packages and 15 add-ons and all that stuff, they're like, I don't know, and I think part of the problem there is that people are, we naturally, anybody that's into automobiles, right? there's nice cars, and then there's just everyday commuters, right? The minivan behind you. And the thing I look at is, I'm like, if you can tap into the mom minivan market, you could do nothing but clean minivans, and you would be the best damn minivan cleaning person on the planet. And that's what you would market towards. Because if that's your market and that's the problem you're solving is, hey, I can get the goldfish out from underneath the seat, then do that.
Cat's detailing.
Yeah, Cat's detailing,
Cat's
man.
detailing.
She's the minivan mom cleaning machine. And I think that people have a problem. They always want that Ferrari to come in, and they always want that $2,100 job to come in, or that $5,000 job. And I'm like, you got to pay the bills, man. That's what Jamie Buchanan, the guy that was on Dirty Old Cars from North Carolina, he has 3 separate shops. It's the most unique corner I've ever seen. But they actually has 3 shops on one facility. You can park a couple of cars in between all of them, and each shop has a different purpose. But he's got one shop that does the high-end stuff. It's got the lights and the paint, and he does all the ceramic coatings and everything there. The shop on the far end, that's dealership work. And
high volume, dirty.
High volume, man.
Get
And
it out the door.
It is in and out.
Yep.
It is. I want the driver's side to look good and get the bug sap off of it, get the bugs and the sap off of it. Out the door it goes. But that pays the bills. And I think people lose sight of that. They're so keyed into trying to do those high-end services that they forget that it's going to be the same margin if you're doing fast stuff that you can do 5 a day than if you're doing one. So I think people need to look at that, and again, they need to assess where they want to be and what their area is like. If their area is full of high-end cars, great. If it's not, you don't want to market towards high-end cars if you're in an area that doesn't have a lot.
I hate to say this, but I guess I will, because I don't really care if people get upset with it. But car guys can be some of the worst people to work for because they're very meticulous. They want it perfect. They think they know better. They know everything there is about detailing. Whereas, I mean, this guy is a really good client of mine. I've done several vehicles. He got this van and he's like, book me for the whole thing, interior and exterior. And it's going to look great when I'm done with it. I mean, it's almost done anyway, but he's going to go, wow, this is great. Thanks so much. And he's going to write me a check and that'll be it. And I think that the Ferrari, why would because I'm one of those people, I don't charge people a luxury tax. I base it off of what I'm doing to the car, how long it's going to take, what they're wanting done. So if I get a portion here that I'm doing the same amount of work as I am to this minivan, I'm going to charge the same amount. But you can also scare the minivan and the Ford Explorer and the Chevy Tahoe people away if your website is all Ferraris and all that stuff. And if you're the high-end guy, you're wanting to be known as the exotic detailer, that's fine. But back to what you said about interiors, I mean, I'm going to make someone some money really quick here, okay? Really, really quick. What would you rather see if you were wanting to get your minivan, the interior detailed? You go to the person's website, okay? You go to the detailer's website, and you've got the level 1, the level 2, and the level 3 package. And you got to learn a PhD, and you've got to look at what it includes, what it doesn't include, and then you're upset. You don't want to make the wrong decision, or you find the sanitary touch meticulous interior package, and that's it. That's it. That's the only thing. That's the sanitary touch interior package and you don't talk about, you have some little bullet points if they want to read about all you do, but you say it will be sparkling clean, sanitized, and it will be something where you can eat off of the floorboards. That will sell 10 times better than the level 1, level 2, level 3, optional add-ons, et cetera, et cetera. And you price it appropriately. You got to make sure you're making money. But if you were a consumer, which would you rather do? I don't want to get a PhD in your business. I want to get a solution, and the sanitary touch meticulous package looks great to me.
I love that. And I think, I mean, when I'm listening to you talk about that, I'm thinking about my wife. I mean, that is exactly my wife. She just wants to get in the car and it feel clean. She wants it to smell clean. The rest of the stuff, not so much, right? And boy, when you simplify the messaging, you attract customers like flies. And you've proven it because you have 130-day booked out.
Right.
Well, and I have been an ad copy guy for many, many years. I have taken ridiculous course on copywriting and all this stuff, but last year I started taking a lot of training on messaging and offers and stuff like that. And I wanted to help other detailers with this, and that's why I turned it into a replicable process where you can go through your business, go through your website, go through your packages. You can follow the template. And I do help some people one-on-one who want that as well. And we go through the template and do it yourselves, where it doesn't have to be so complicated, so hard, so frustrating, especially for the customer. You want them to be able to come to a yes or no really, really quickly.
Yeah, I love that. And I love this comment by Captain Shorgasm. That's funny. I'm thinking of doing a spinoff of Mike's for budget conscious. Rotary and run, no BS detailing. I love that, right?
Yeah.
It's simple. It's easy to understand, even if you're not, a detailer. And I think that's one of the big takeaways that I've taken from you today is like, simplify your messaging.
Yeah.
Focus on solving the problem. When you focus on solving the problem, it makes it easier for people to do business with you.
Yeah. And that's one of the things that we got from when we purchased Detail Bookie. Detail Bookie, one of the reasons it's successful, and one of the reasons we picked it up is because it services the smaller shop really well. And the statement that we came up with is, it's like a detailing business in a box. It gets you off on the right foot. It has the pricing in there. It has the packaging in there, and it has everything set up for you. Whereas the RoadFS takes on the more sophisticated, I will say. If you're ready to have multiple employees, if you're paying somebody commission, if you need to have inventory management and all that kind of stuff, locations, all that kind of stuff. But I think it's funny because people didn't know what in the heck we were doing. They're like, why would you buy a competing software? And we said, well, because it services this part of the market really, really well. And we don't want to try to shoehorn a product in there, because it's funny, because my messaging has changed completely since 2009. Man, 2009, 2010. Mark, let me tell you about all the awesome features. Our software can do this and this and this and this and this and this and this. And pretty soon you're lost.
Your eyes glaze over.
I wasn't listening to what you needed. So now I start out by going, tell me what you're looking for. Why did you stop to talk to a software company? What is it you need the software to do? And I just needed to send something to QuickBooks. Great, let's focus on that. Everything else, let's not worry about that, because those, you may use those later, but let's focus on what you need, not what I think is cool.
It's ironic. I made a training video about sales, and it was 16 minutes long for CPD members on the website. And it is, and I was like, listen, in 16 minutes, I'm going to tell you how to completely rethink sales. And I'm going to give you guys the nutshell, okay? First of all, when they call and they say, hey, my name's Jim, I just bought a new Chevy Silverado, I'm looking to get a ceramic coating for it. First of all, to me, that's a booking call. It's not a sales call, it's a booking call. All I'm trying to do is match him in to what works. I'm not trying to sell him. I'm not using rebuttals. I'm not making it complicating. So the first thing I do is, okay, what questions do you have for me?
Yep.
And within 30 seconds of that phone call, he will reveal to you exactly the problem so I've heard that if you get this ceramic coating, the bugs come off really easy. Okay, that's all I have to, that's literally he just gave me the key to the kingdom. So I said, absolutely. You get a little small residential pressure washer. You get 90% of the bugs off just by pre-washing it. You do a hand wash to get what's left of it. It takes you about 30 minutes. You blow dry it, then you pat dry whatever's left, and the car looks like the truck looks like $1 million. Looks like you spent all weekend detailing it. Oh, okay. That sounds great. How much does this cost? Well, my Pro Coating package, which is my only ceramic coating offer right now. I have a shadow offer, which that's a whole other different thing. But my package is $17.95 for a truck that size, takes 2 days, blah, 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 blah. Okay, when can I get on the schedule? I can get you on the schedule right now. All I need is a small deposit. We'll get you booked. And within my average sales call, or I should say booking call, is 5 to 7 minutes. 5 to 7 minutes, they go from, I don't know anything about you, to I just paid a deposit with a credit card over the phone, and they're locked in.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
It's funny because Jody and I have been doing software and I've been involved in cars for years, and we watched people go to these massive levels, and they got 15 inches stacked of paper with all of the numbers and all that stuff. And we just go talk to people. We're like, okay, what are you dealing with? And they're like, you know what? I'm doing great. And we're like, that's fine. That's awesome. Before we bought Detail Bookie, we walked clients over to Dustin. We'd say, hey, Dustin, this is Joe, and he needs your software. And Dustin was like, really? Okay, why aren't you selling them? I said, because you guys do this better.
Mobile Tech RX.
There's
I've
no reason
over there all the time.
Yeah, there's no reason for me to try to make somebody fit into something they don't belong in. It works. So I think that is kind of the key to this, is that there's room in it for everybody. if you're not going to solve that problem, don't try to force it because it's not going to last.
Yeah.
If I don't know how to detail, let's say fiberglass, right? Corvettes, kit cars, all that stuff. If I'm not good at detailing on fiberglass, don't try to market to those people, because you better go get some training first. You better know what you're doing, because when you get into those kind of people, like you said, they'll show up with the light themselves and they'll start going at 45 degrees and they're checking for swirl marks, and you're about to redo a car because the dude in the cut off Levi shorts and the Hawaiian shirt driving the Corvette knows what he wants it to look like because he's got a lot of friends that have them.
And you know what? But he's going to tell you that. Like if that guy calls you the stereotypical Corvette owner, or he stops by they always like to stop by. They like to show off the car. They're going to come in there and be like, these swirls drive me crazy. Okay. He just told me very specifically exactly the problem he wants fixed. And I know I've got to price him according to that. He's not like the minivan guy, which this thing it's brand new anyway. There was hardly any swirls on it. But this guy with this Corvette, he told me exactly his pain point, and that's the swirl mark. So I have my expectation. Now all I got to do is go out and do the detailing work, which is what I consider the easy work. That's the stuff where I plug some earplugs and listen to an audiobook or something like that while I work. That's the easy stuff. And what I love about this conversation, and when we talk about simplifying, anyone can do this. And it is the lowest hanging fruit in the entire detailing industry. And any struggling detailer could do this and simplify what they offer and simplify their business and simplify their message, and immediately start getting higher conversions, because it's not rocket science. It's simplification.
Yeah.
Yep. For sure.
Dude, I have absolutely loved this conversation. It's because it's really focused on business, marketing, sales, interaction with their customers. And I think, these kind of conversations are what really help people go to the next level, or just are happy where they're at, right? And trying to optimize and streamline where they're at. And I want to thank you for taking the time to visit with us. I mean, we could go for another hour, I know that, but I want to be respectful of your time. And Rod and I are hitting a hard deadline. But kind of in final wrap up, are there some key things, like one or two key nuggets that you think detail businesses who are struggling, what they could do starting today that would make it difference in their business?
Well, first of all, I'm going to shamelessly self-plug. Go to certifiedprofessionaldetailers.com, sign up for a membership. It costs $400 a year. If you don't want to renew, you don't have to, but it is literally, if you do not get 20 times what you put into it minimum over the course of a year, you haven't applied anything in there. You haven't applied anything in there. So
that's
go to
quite
certified
comments real quick.
I mean, that's $8,000.
Yeah. And what I want to say here at the end is just to Justin and Rick Cole, reach out to Mark. It sounds like you really want to talk to him. And then Justin, if you want to talk to us, we'd love to talk to you as well.
Can you guys throw my email address on there? It's Mark.
We've got it.
Absolutely. So what I will do post show, I will put in your email in the comments. So guys, make sure to look for that. And I will also share the direct link with you guys. Justin, please shoot me a direct DM. I'd love to talk to you. And Rod and I, there we go. I'm going to grab that real quick. Copy that. Grab that.
But let me say real quick, instead of just the self-promotion, just to close out, to answer your question, look at your business and ask the question, am I speaking to my customers? Or am I speaking to other detailers? And then go to Walmart, find some random person that looks happy, that has a smile on their face, give them your website and be like, what do you think about this? Would you buy one of my services, or is it too complicated? And 90% of the time they're going to say, I don't really understand what all this is. I wouldn't know what to buy. And if that's the case, then go back and change everything. Because for the struggling detailers, For the ones, it's dead. You're not making enough money. You're barely paying the bills. If what you're doing and have been doing is not working, you literally have nothing to lose by
Right.
changing it. Even if the other people in the detailing industry don't like it, go in there and change it.
Yep.
Yeah.
So one thing I want to mention, I had a comment from our last show about marketing and different ways of doing things like TikTok and videos and things like that. Go out to Mike's Marine Care and watch some of the videos he's doing. Mike
Yes.
does some fantastic cuts and some really, really nice looking videos. And he's a great guy to get a hold of. He's on this podcast, but Mike's Marine Care, he does some really cool stuff out there. And if you're wanting to do those kind of flashy videos and stuff that are good for your, we call them shorts, right? They're a 30-second thing that markets what you do. Mike does a really good job of that. So
the other guy that does an excellent job is J&G Auto.
Yep, J&G Auto out of Salt Lake City.
Dude, that guy.
Both those guys I would look at their stuff and just
awesome.
do that. So thank you so much, Mark. It was a pleasure meeting you and listening to you. Like Jody said, we could probably talk all day long.
Oh gosh, yes.
About a number of things like, autistic kids and patients and
and business. And so yeah, thank you so much, Mark. This has been a pleasure, man.
Thanks. Yeah, we'll do it again sometime. You just let me
Absolutely.
know. I'm fairly flexible, but yeah, if anyone has any questions, if you don't want to sign up for CPD, whatever, I'm fine with that. But if you need help or something, you have questions, shoot me an email. It's totally anonymous. I won't tell anyone. It's just between you and me, and I will help you out the best that I can within that platform.
That's awesome.
That's
well,
awesome.
Thank you so much, guys. We're looking forward to next week. We have Giancarlo from RoadFS. He's going to be dropping in next week, so it's going to be a great episode. So yeah, it's awesome. And then just a few weeks out, we will be at PDP at their event, and then at the Detailing Summit at Jacksonville, Florida, and then we're going to be at TRCMA.
Yep.
So a lot of crazy things coming on. We're super excited.
And Rick Cole, you just made a comment about Detail Bookie. Just DM Jody or myself, and we'll get you hooked up with Mitch, with Ben, our account manager, or with ourselves. We'll do whatever we need to do to make sure that you can utilize it to the best of your advantage.
Awesome. Well, you guys have a great day. Thank you so much again, Mark. Thank you guys for tapping in. Please remember, like, share, and subscribe. And we will check you same time, same bad channel just next week.